Hey there, Rulers, TMO73 here, bringing you our first feature match post ATD cards for Wanderer. Today I am trying out Elektra with Osiris versus Paul, who's back with Utsunes, only now with Nocturne Theatre. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to pre-order upcoming Force of Will sets, ccgprime.com for singles and supplies, cardodoko.com for those rulers in the international market looking for product, as well as our guest lecturer members Vite Ramen and Full Grammar Alchemist. Class is in session. Okay, as we get into it, just a few things to note here. We are playing with ATD cards. They are proxies. They're not out yet, but they're still technically legal, so we're making use of them because it shows off some fun stuff in Wanderer. Paul is playing Utsunes with the Scrivener sub-ruler for Trinity Rulers, which makes the Oaths way better, as well as the new Theater card, and I am playing Elektra, making use of the new Osiris, which is a really good way to hyper-accelerate Elektra and give her some really cool tools with instant speed contracting. So we're going to go ahead and jump into it here. We also see that Paul is playing copies of Protection from the Academy grounds. Do note that this is post updates to those cards, so we do know that Castle Grounds has mythics. You know, Theater can only grab things of X cost instead of X plus 1, so we made sure to have those updated for this match. But it is going to be interesting to see how things go. Green control can be a little bit of a problem for Elektra, meaning that, you know, just because it can be hard to get those 1-drops online unless we see, you know, based on how many cancels we have, unless of course we see Amulet Orb. So we'll have to see if that's our first armament here. We're starting with bow and arrows, which is not bad. It still lets us put on some aggression even when we're in necessarily like a Callstone Pass kind of situation, which is exactly what we're doing here. Paul having access to green coin means that we're probably going to wait a little bit to be able to maybe follow up a cancel on turn one, like for our first play, to then play another card, because we want to get that aggression down early, and if we lose it too fast, then, you know, we just kind of fall too far behind. Paul going to go ahead and play Aradia, Heaven of Aeon here. Paul really wants to keep his hand advantage up so that he doesn't necessarily burn if he has to try to go into the theater. Passes the turn there. We're going to go ahead and ping him for 2 with bow and arrow. This has does not have any form of protection on it, so we're going to go ahead. Oh, no, we're just going to go ahead and cycle with Fossil Girl. Hit our stone, which gives us barrier. Helps our 2-drops later to be able to try to be uncancelable off of Crown Stone. We're going to go in for a Ryzen, see if we can get that to resolve. See which one we're going to get here. We hit 1, and we do hit the Amulet Orb, which is really nice here. It means our Resonator spells cannot be canceled, so we're a little bit buffered, which is nice. Looking into that, we're going to go ahead and possibly just going to go ahead and extend. We're going to push through with Osiris here, now that we have the Amulet Orb protection, so we can banish Ryzen to play Osiris, which is really nice. This is going to get us an upgraded one, although we do have a world where he can respond. He's got this protection from the Academy grounds here. So this gets to flash in. He'll get to name 2 cards off the God's Art. He can actually turn off Amulet Orb here, which would be really nice to be able to set up cancels, essentially making Amulet Orb not able to help me. He can also probably call Osiris to make sure that I can't get instant speed contracts, which is a really good grab here in the counterplay. Now, Osiris himself, if he gets to enter, is still a lot of pressure. He is calling Amulet Orb and Osiris, but doesn't have a cancel to follow it up. And we get the upgraded Longsword. So this is great, which means that we have swiftness. Everyone's getting plus 200 attacks, so we just get to go in for 11, very aggressive, take him down to 27, and then we'll just pass the turn there. So Paul already feeling pretty behind, didn't have many cancels there to be able to fight over anything, which gives us a great position to be in. Double checking exactly what protections is going to remove off of Osiris. And then Paul's got to answer this Osiris quick, though, because it is still representing 1100 damage just by itself, which is a problem. He's going to go ahead and coin out Replicant Shiva. Interesting play there. We're going to go ahead and let that happen. He'll get the 4 counters, but it does tap him out, which puts us in a pretty good position to be able to get aggressive. So we'll start by upgrading bow and arrow with Carmilla, and then be able to immediately animate her at the end of the turn, which is really nice. So flying drain, 1200 in the air, feels really nice here. Everything's going to have swiftness at this point. We can go ahead and swing in for 12, take him down to 14. We'll get to drain up to 5,000. Get to play a Ryzen. This is also really good because it flies. So the Shiva, unfortunately, just not going to do much here. In number 4, we get Battle Flag, makes everybody get a little bit faster, and when we swing, we get pings. So right now, Ryzen is currently swinging for 1,200 plus the ping for 14. So that is lethal just by swinging. I completely forget that Battle Flag does that, so I take him down to 2. And then I'm going to go ahead and sack them for another Osiris, just for the aggression's sake of it. We'll go ahead and try to get another armament, see what else we can get here. It's upgraded. We get Headband. Doesn't really matter here. Attempt to swing in for lethal with Osiris, knowing full well that he's going to block. But then we say, okay, now that you've done that, we'll just have them bounce off each other, and then I'll just ping you with bow and arrow for the lethal. So very aggressive game 1 here, showing what Osiris can do to accelerate the deck, and we'll push into game 2. Unfortunately, Paul not really getting to show off the theater stuff here. Choosing to kind of a debate whether he wants to go first or second. We ultimately decide that he is going to go second here, kind of a suggestion just because of the fact of, again, makes it so that if he does have a cancel, I can't really do a immediate follow-up play, which can be a little bit of a problem. You know, an advantage for Elektra, being able to do like coin for something and stone for something on turn 1 against a green control deck can really be a problem, especially if I open up with something like an Osiris. We are just going to go ahead and try to slam a Ryzen on turn 1. A little bit risky here, but we're trying to take, seeing what we can grab, how things go. Paul's thinking about how he wants to respond here. He's going to go ahead and go for the Nocturne Theatre. Gets it out of here. And then this is a play that I was not expecting. Using Nocturne and the coin, you can go search for a water card with time in its name of total cost X and play it for free. And he is playing Falling into the Cracks of Time. So I don't know if that was sideboarded in or if he's just playing it, but that does mean my 1-drop just gets to go to the bottom of the deck instead of entering the field. So a very strong play for Paul. Now it does tap his Nocturne and it won't get to recover because it is the first turn, but it's kind of done its job at that point. Paul, interestingly enough, decides to go for another Aradia of Heaven here. We get to have a kind of a free turn. We go get a Ryzen. This one's going to get to resolve, thankfully. This is a free armament. We'll see which one we're going to hit. Gets 4. We get a Chain Sickle. So things don't have Barrier and Eternal now, which is nice to be able to deal things like with the Replicant Shiva, and if we can upgrade it later, ultimately just deciding to pass. Going into Paul's turn, he's got Scrivener online now. He's got access to the theater. We're going to go ahead and do giving everything Remnant before recovery to try to get our little beast out. I'm going to throw down Fossil Girl to stop the enter effects. And again, Paul kind of tapping out here, but I don't really have as much of an aggressive start, so he's got some breathing room to go into it. Now, I could have a very aggressive continue with follow-up, but right now doesn't seem like I have an Osiris in hand, so we're just going to go for an armament refinement. Going to get us another armament that is going to get us to upgrade because we have 3, so we can we hit bow and arrows there, which is nice. And now Elektra Dragon Form's going to come out, which gets us one of our high armaments. We're going to go ahead and go for the Devil Spear, making Dragon Form a little bit more aggressive. Paul's seeing a third unique stone type here. So it does have to tap out, which is a little bit risky, but goes for an Ultra Magic Stone Golem. If I had a Fossil Girl, that would be pretty huge, but unfortunately not seeing it. So gonna lose everybody there to Ultra Magic Stone Golem. Now this is a problem for me. Ultra Magic Stone Golem being out with Theater as a board-based deck is a problem, because if I can't get that Ultra Magic Stone Golem off the field, then Paul just once per turn can pay 1 and clone Ultra Magic Stone Golem now that it's out. And it's an instant speed, so he can just continuously re-wipe the board, which is a bit of a problem. Now, Armament Upgrade is going to be helpful here. It's going to get to upgrade Chain Sickle, which will let us pop the Ultra Magic Stone Golem while he's tapped out. I don't get to contract here quite yet. I only have the 1 upgraded, but we can keep playing through. We're going to go ahead and go for Armament Refinement again, get another one. Trying to remember where my armaments are. Throwing the dice at Paul, unfortunately. Hits number 3, which gets us a longsword, not upgraded, but we can upgrade it later. We go back into dragon form, and now dragon form will get us our other high armament. So essentially at this point in time, we have Defiant 6. Which is a little bit insane, given that I have plus 1,000, and whenever I attack, I get to destroy something. So he has to be really cautious here. That being said, I only have a couple will to be able to interact. He's playing at a position where if he can try to keep things off the board, he's in a pretty good spot here. If he had something in the remove from game area, that would be pretty helpful, because what he could do is he could pay 2 for the Shiva and then clone it. So while the original Shiva wouldn't be able to kill the dragon form, the clone would be able to deal damage to everything and then crash into the dragon form with the precision, which would be enough to kill. But Paul can also just do this, which is fully paying for a replicant Shiva and then cloning it, so that it will just deal, dragon form will take all of her damage essentially twice, and clear the board that way. Paul's going to go ahead and do exactly that. We're going to see the replicant Shiva get cast. And pays 200, goes down to 30, and then uses Nocturne to clone it, thus killing the Elektra. So 2 horror forms down, and we get to swing in. We're going to go ahead and burn, in response to that combat, we're going to go ahead and burn a Courtesans to gain 1,000 life and get rid of that off the board. Ping him for 200 with the long bow and arrow before recovery. Got to get that damage in where I can. We're going to go ahead and pitch a Carmilla to try to upgrade longsword. This build makes use of Carmilla much more readily accessible because it's easier to reanimate her with the speed which we get armaments. Then we're going to get her back onto the field. She'll have that flying, so swinging in for 12. Now I have to be really cautious here, because if I can't kill him, then the Shivas can just keep killing the Carmillas. That being said, she gets to keep reanimating as long as I have upgraded armaments, which is great, or as long as I have enough armaments to keep reanimating her, which is awesome. And the fact that longsword is upgraded. So Paul starts to try to clone the Shiva here, but what he does first is he's going to try to clone the Shiva, but the new clone will have Mythic, so the token will be gone. So he swings in first to maximize the damage, gets the new one having to sacrifice the other one, which then kills the Shiva, or then kills the Carmilla. And now the Carmillas are a little bit bigger, which is nice. Paul's sitting pretty low on life, just a few more hits with that Carmilla at plus longsword. Both going to try to reanimate her at the end of the turn. Paul's looking at Scrivener here. He's going to go ahead and let the Carmilla resolve, and then before draw on my turn, we're going to see a Sympathy of Fire and Wind, and then it's going to get cloned because of Moontide on my turn. So it's going to hit me for 16 and the Carmilla for 16. Now I'll be able to reanimate her post-recovery, and that's okay, which is still, you know, it's a good chunk of damage here. But it's not lethal, and again, I'm staring down these Shivas, which is a problem. Now, the Shivas don't have Eternal or anything. We're going to go ahead and try to play Elektra Sparkling Form. Now, I like Elektra Sparkling Form here with the upgraded Longsword, because now she's a 4/7, even if I call Flame Spirit, and try to get her Defiant, right? Paul's going to respond with Scrivener, though, making use of that one remaining will to be able to cast for every forgotten creature for only one. This is the advantage of Scrivener, getting your oaths online faster. Shiva is now bigger. My guy is canceled, but Paul is tapped out. So we're in a good position to be able to reanimate the Carmilla here and get a little bit more pressure moving through. We ultimately would be able to do 1,400 damage, but the reason why we're choosing not to do the Carmilla quite yet now is because sure, we'd hit for 14 and we'd take, with the longsword ping, we'd be able to hit him down to 3, but then we'd be fully kind of exposed. So Paul could do something like animate a new Shiva, banish the Shiva that he just animated, so the enter effect goes on the chase, get the 3+1/+1 counters on each of the Shivas he has, and then just swing in for lethal. So we're kind of waiting to use Carmilla at a different point in time, maybe, which might be the wrong play overall, but I don't want to make these Shivas any bigger if I can help it. Does decide to, before calling for stone, go ahead and recast the Oath here for every forgotten creature. Now the thing about this is, because it's outside the game, he also can just recast that again using Scrivener. He's just continued the uptick of the Oath thanks to Scrivener here, or thanks to just maintaining it. So he's going to swing in for that damage. He swings in with the Shiva, and then I say, wait, actually, before we go into combat again, like as you're starting to go into combat, we're going to try to animate the, Carmilla, and he's going to respond with an Ice Shards, which is a really good play here. It only costs him 1. He'll be able to get her out of the game before she successfully reanimates. Now, I could try to reanimate her again, but he still hasn't used Moontide this turn, so it's the same problem before, where it can come in, and then he'll use Moontide, and like I'm just not in a great spot. So I assume that he's going to continue to go into combat, and I say, actually, you know what, then that's fine. We'll just go ahead and let it happen. And then as he attempts to go into end phase, I make a mistake here. So first off, one of the big mistakes I've done is like haven't used Gravestone at all, which I certainly could have. But I'm going to, as he attempts to go into end phase so I can try to close the game out this next turn, I'm going to try to flash in Fire Pit Trap, but this is still in Paul's main phase, and this is where my error comes in. So he's going to go ahead and cast, use Scrivener to cast another copy of the Oath to stop it, which is going to put all of those counters on Shiva, but this is his 3rd time casting it, so she gets 6+1/+1 counters, which means she swings for 18, and we're in his main phase still, so he just gets to go into aggression and attack and kill me. And he still has access to Moontide for the turn, so there wasn't anything I was going to be able to do to stop it. So a misplay on my end, getting a little bit greedy, ended up giving Paul the win, and we go into game 3. Now, I am choosing to take the coin here because, again, it's that same purpose of the idea being, if I try to play a turn 1 play and he stops it, I have coin to be able to immediately follow it up, right? And so if I can kind of bait that initial cancel with something like a Resonator, you know, if a second copy of Osiris, or a second copy of, say, a second copy of Ryzen, and then play a second Ryzen, or first copy of Ryzen and play a second Ryzen into Osiris, that kind of thing, you can get a little bit nutty. So Paul just chooses to pass the turn there, and I'm going to pass as well. I don't really have a turn 1 play aggressively, but I do have a play defensively, or at the end of his turn to try to push in some pressure. We're going to go ahead and pass the turn. At the end of his turn, we're going to try to flash in Ryzen and Intel, and this burns one of his 1,000 Fractured Reflections. Now, I'm really glad I didn't play a turn 1 spell, and he has 2 stones now, so he can't do the free version of 1,000 Fractured. It does take a card out of his hand, which is nice. We're going to go for Intel. Intel's going to upgrade and force him to discard. And then in response to the Death Chain Sickle's effect to try to kill my Ryzen, we're going to tap the upgraded Chain Sickle to give Ryzen Eternal, so it does, or Intel Eternal, so it doesn't get killed. Now, unfortunately, no Osiris here, but we'll continue to try to push some pressure down. We're going to go ahead for an Armament Refinement to try to draw a card and get an armament, but that is going to burn a For Every Forgotten Creature thanks to Scrivener. Goes into Paul's turn. Now he can choose to maintain the oath or not. If he chooses not to, that's kind of okay though, because it just means he can use Scrivener to cast it for 1 anyway from the RFG. It's just not bumping up the oath count, because Paul's not really particularly concerned about the oath count for here. He's thinking about, oh, maybe I should have cast it, and actually, no, I'm not going to. Now, it will expel once he recasts it, but it's essentially fine. Like, he's just using it as a cancel spell, so he doesn't really care. We're going to go in for 200 for 2 red here. We're going to go for a Vega and Elektra. This is a little bit risky knowing that he has a Scrivener there, but we're certainly going to try for it. Vega and Elektra being able to upgrade us. We can grab ones from the sideboard either rather than the armament deck. It's going to go ahead and flash in a Lorite. We say, that's fine. Eats another answer out of your hand. We're trying to burn the green deck out of answers as best we can. So we're going to burn coin and play Ryzen. Trying to get an armament here just to kind of keep the pressure and draw a card. Although I do believe, if I remember correctly, I forget to draw a card. We hit Longsword here. Yep, I forgot to draw a card off of the Osiris, or off of the Ryzen. That's my fault. 1 less card in my hand that I can use against the green deck. Paul's going to go ahead and say, no, now that you're tapped out and we're passing, let's go ahead and get Nocturne out into play. At least he starts to do so and says, actually, I don't have that many cards in my hand. Maybe I'll wait a second. Just going to move to recovery. Now we're going to go ahead and do the Nocturne. I think he was maybe waiting to see if he hit a good stone combination for the Ultra Magic Stone Golem before going for it, and seeing that he doesn't have a good stone combo for it there, he's just going to get a little bit more aggressive. And since I only have Resonators, he's going to go ahead and do Replicant Shiva here, solarized, so that he can get all those +1/+1 counters. It'll put 4 +1/+1 counters on all his guys, which is great for him. I do get an extra will thanks to Vega and Elektra leaving the field. Do keep in mind that his Shiva does not have Eternal. Mine will, thanks to Chain Sickle. But I am going to be taking quite a bit of damage, so I'll swing in for 5. Swing in for a lot more than 5. And then pass turn. So Paul has 0 cards in hand, but he does have Moontide, which is interesting here because he can Moontide Lorite, or he can Moontide Shiva based on what I'm going to play here. So if I go for like a Replicant Shiva in this situation, he can Moontide the Lorite to cancel the automatic effect, which is bad for me because then at that point in time, his Shiva is big enough to block mine, which is not great. But if I go for something different or like a board presence, then he can just use Shiva, Moontide on Shiva to clear it out. So I'm in a bit of a pickle. Thankfully, I have the coin. Paul also doesn't want to overcommit too early to a Moontide, because if I have like a follow-up play, that could be pretty bad. Having to play through Nocturne even though he has no cards in hand is so interesting, because what's on his board essentially kind of becomes his hand, which is kind of nice. We're going to pay 4 using the God Art of the Crown Stone to be able to pay for the, or using the Void from there to be able to play for Osiris. We're just full casting an Osiris, trying to get its enter effect on the chase, seeing if we can kind of get that to resolve. It is. We would have been fine if that baited out of Moontide, because we at least would have had access to coin for being able to use his activate ability. And we hit a Rough Magic Stone upgraded. That is an insanely good hit here, because now we essentially have 2 will to work with, so we can kind of try to counterplay a little bit of what's going on. Osiris being able to do instant speed contracts for Elektra is insanely good. So we're going to pass. And then before draw on his turn, if he doesn't try to do Moontide during our turn, we're probably going to try to make a play. So before draw his turn, he has accepted. We're going to try to go for Osiris's ability to try to cast a contract from our deck of 1 cost for free. Probably going to go for a horror form here for the stat neg, given that we have at least some kind of stat neg ability. He's going to think about what he wants to do to respond. He's going to try to Moontide the Lorite to cancel the automatic ability. Now, this is kind of exactly what we wanted. It's a little bit surprising that we didn't see maybe a Moontide of the Elektra or the fossil Shiva to kill the Osiris and try to pump up his board higher. That probably wouldn't have helped very much anyway, because we could have responded, but it's, you know, it's an interesting play line here. So correct us if we're wrong in the chat, but I do believe because the thing has to be on field to be able to successfully be copied. That's how we played it in this moment. If we're wrong, you can let us know in the chat. So I'm going to, or in the comments. So what I do here is, in response to the attempted Moontide, we're going to do Osiris's activate ability again, because that card is not once per turn. So we're just going to go get another contract here. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be grabbing Horror Form. Like, we're trying to get Horror Form upgraded so that we can try to kill the Lorite before it can be successfully copied, which would then let us get a Armament Refinement and get another Regalia. So we'll go for Armament Upgrade to upgrade Longsword, which is nice, because we don't want to we can't re-upgrade anything. Horror Form is now out because we have at least 2 upgraded armaments. This means that there's an immediate -6/-6 on the board, which will kill the Lorite. We can go in for a the sword, the demon sword, which cuts us up to a -8/-8, which kills his creature. And then my second one, because the copy then fizzles, lets us get an armament refinement from the deck, which gets us a 5th armament, or yeah, a 5th armament. So now we have a stat neg of -10/-10. The Shiva's still sticking around, but we'll see kind of if we can try to clear it off the board this turn. And we hit the bow and arrow, which is exactly what we needed, because now the Shiva has a -10/-10, and then we can just ping her for 2 with bow and arrow because Chain Sickle is on field, and get that off the board. So a nice, very nice, just full clear play there to get rid of the the field of advantage that Paul had there, thanks to Theater. So what was the one card that he drew? -10/-10 on the board. Means even in this position, based on what we have, Ultra Magic Stone Golem isn't even that great here, because it can't kill the Osiris, because it'll only have 1,000 attack, and Osiris has 1,100 attack. And we can respond with trying to remove cards from our graveyard to pump up the Horror Form with the sword if we want. Paul thinking about what he wants to do here. Whatever the top deck was. Paul really tried to think about how he's going to play out through. He does have a couple ways to be able to draw some cards. He's going to grab Space-Time Mage of m.ha. So because this was put into the field without being played from a hand, he's going to get to draw 2 cards. Unfortunately, it is going to immediately die. So the stat neg, you know, the taxing element of it, not super great here. But Space-Time Mage of m.ha is great with the theater because you can just kind of clone it once every turn with Moontide if you don't need to do something else, and then you just draw 2 cards and double tax your opponent. This is a little bit one of the reasons why I was concerned initially about theater being X+1 for the sake of Time Spinning Witch, but it being X just makes it, you know, good but not insane. Paul is dropping a second theater here, just as I need to try to draw into something. It's going to grab a second space-time because it's not mythic. So he's going to try to go for a second space-time mage of m.ha. He's essentially looking for exclusively Ultra Magic Stone Golem here, which is just going to try to get the horror form off the field. I can burn cards to stat neg, but I think in my mind, I'm like, if he's burning all of these resources just to get rid of horror form, I'm going to let him and kind of tax him out. He's top decks a falling through the cracks of time, and then does hit exclusively Ultra Magic Stone Golem. It's going to get rid of my horror form because I'm not going to risk doing that. Primarily because I can save those I can save those pumps for when I swing a bunch of times with Dragon form if I need to push through for lethal that way. I could even go for it this turn if I wanted, in such a way that would probably just end the game. Paying 3, we're going to go ahead and cast in Shiva. This is a little bit of a mistake on my part, actually, I think. I probably, given that he's fully tapped out, we probably could have just gone using, getting Dragon Form, then play Shiva, and then getting the Defiant Armament, and then just killing him, because we'd have 9+1/+1 counters on the Dragon Form. This just goes for a lack of experience on my perspective from playing with Elektra, just recognizing, again, we talk about all the time how Jeremy doesn't know how to play red decks, and this is a great example of it, just fully missing the free turn that I was given. We're going to try to go for Osiris's God activate ability in response to Remnithropos, trying to get us a horror form. Paul says, that's fine, you can go for it. Paul's only got 2 cards left in hands. We're going to go for an Armament Refinement, try to get upgraded, and he does have another copy of For Every Forgotten Creature that he can use here, thanks to Scrivener to get that stopped. Doesn't get to put any +1/+1 counters on anything, because his Resonator isn't on the field yet, but it does fully tap him out, which puts us in a good position. And at the end of the turn, we're going to go ahead and pop a Carmilla here, pitching to upgrade the bow and arrow, and then recovering to get Carmilla back. Before recovery, we can ping him for 4 with the bow and arrow. Take Paul down to 34. He got to gain some life back there thanks to his resin drop. But we're still in a pretty good position thanks to Carmilla being very, very aggressive. We'll start with a swing in the air for 12. Takes him down to 22. We take our life total back up. We have to be careful, though, because, again, he'll be able to possibly clone. We can pitch another Carmilla here down to upgrade Longsword. We'll tap the ones that don't need to be tapped to be able to get another Carmilla out. Now swinging in for another 12. Takes Paul down to 6. Paying 200 to play that Elektra. Again, same thing. It has swiftness now, so I can try to go for Flame Spirit to make it so it can attack multiple times. And then really, unfortunately, any Resonator in my hand that the deck plays is essentially probably lethal at this point in time, especially since I still have Bow and Arrow up. I just need to hit him with something, and then Bow and Arrow will be able to finish the game, because Bow and Arrow plus the Longsword bonus is 600 damage, so I just need to connect with something. So I'm essentially just trying to throw out as much as I can here. We're going to go ahead and both call Flame Spirit, so I can attack a bajillion times. I'll be able to attack 4 times this turn. Not that he has a blocker that can just kill it immediately, which is fine. We're going to go ahead and pay 2, and we have Courtesans, who's in play here, who can get rid of one of the additions. Our life total tracker, again, he should be dead here. We were off by 200 when he forgot to pay one time, and we'll respond to the block with Bow and Arrow that way with the life totals as it was to finish the game. So there you are, ATD cards in action, very fun stuff. We'll have deck profiles up later this week, and until next time, this is DMO73 saying class dismissed.